Ida for divorcing my wife and telling everyone that she cheated on me. I decided, after countless sleepless nights filled with relentless thoughts and unspoken anguish, that I needed to clear the air between us before I filed for divorce. The weight of unresolved emotions had grown unbearable, suffocating me with every passing day. The love we once shared had become a fragile, fraying thread, and I knew that if I didn't take this step, it would snap completely, leaving behind only regret and bitterness. I had to confront her, to lay everything bare, so that when the time came to part ways, we would do so without lingering shadows of unspoken grievances or unanswered questions. I needed closure. We both did. With trembling hands and a heart pounding relentlessly in my chest, I picked up my phone and dialed her number. Each ring stretched into eternity, my mind racing with possible outcomes. Would she refuse to meet me? Would she come prepared to argue, to beg, or to deny? Would she try to manipulate me once again, using her tears as a shield against accountability? I pushed those thoughts aside as her familiar voice answered on the other end of the line, carrying a mix of warmth and hesitation. It was the same voice that once brought me comfort, but now it only deepened the ache inside me. "I think we need to talk," I said, my tone calm but firm. There was no room for ambiguity. "Can you meet me at the park near my house?" There was a pause on her end, long enough for me to hear her breathing, the sound of hesitation lingering between us. Finally, she agreed, her voice soft but tinged with confusion. "Okay. I'll be there." I ended the call, my hands still shaking as I placed the phone on the table. The decision I had made felt monumental, like standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing that once I took the leap, there would be no turning back. I wasn't sure if I was ready for what was to come, but deep down, I knew it had to happen. The cracks in our marriage had grown too wide to mend, and her betrayal was a wound that would never fully heal. When the time came to leave, I walked to the park slowly, each step heavy with anticipation. The cool breeze whispered through the trees, carrying with it the scent of earth and fallen leaves. This park had once been a place of peace for me, a sanctuary where we would walk hand in hand, sharing dreams and laughter. But now, it felt different, tainted by the weight of what was about to unfold. I sat on a bench near the entrance, my eyes scanning the familiar surroundings, waiting for her to arrive. When she finally appeared, my heart twisted painfully in my chest. She walked toward me with an air of familiarity, her posture relaxed, as if she believed this meeting would be a simple reconciliation. Her dark hair cascaded over her shoulders, and her expression held a mixture of hope and concern. As she reached me, she smiled gently and leaned in for a hug, wrapping her arms around me in a gesture that once would have felt comforting. But now, it felt like a mask, an attempt to hide the reality of the betrayal that lay between us. "Let's go home," she said softly, her voice carrying an air of assumed normalcy. She pulled back slightly, looking into my eyes, searching for any sign of warmth or forgiveness. "We can talk there." I shook my head, stepping back to create distance between us. "No," I replied, my voice steady but resolute. "I asked you to meet me here because we need to clear things up. We can't keep avoiding this." Her expression shifted, a flicker of confusion replaced by irritation. "You're being unreasonable," she said, crossing her arms defensively. The warmth in her demeanor faded, replaced by frustration. "Why are you dragging this out? We've been through so much together. Why can't we just move on?" I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "Wouldn't you be angry," I began, my words measured, "if you found out I had been drinking, dancing, and kissing other women behind your back? Wouldn't you feel betrayed if I hid that from you?" Her eyes widened slightly, a flicker of guilt crossing her features. She didn't respond immediately, her silence speaking volumes. When she finally did speak, her voice was quieter, more subdued. "I would be angry," she admitted, her gaze dropping to the ground. "But I wouldn't throw away a relationship of 6 years over it." Her words hung in the air between us, a painful echo of the excuses she had been making ever since the truth came to light. It was the same refrain I had heard before, the idea that her actions, no matter how hurtful, were not enough to warrant the end of our marriage. But she didn't understand. She couldn't understand the depth of the wound she had inflicted, the way her betrayal had shattered the foundation of trust we had built together. "That's easy for you to say," I said, my voice growing colder. "Because you're the one who cheated. You're the one who broke our vows. And now, you're asking me to just forget it. To pretend it never happened." She shook her head, her expression pleading. "It was a mistake," she said, her voice trembling. "It didn't mean anything. It was just a kiss. Just a kiss." The words echoed in my mind, each repetition twisting the knife deeper into my chest. How could she reduce her betrayal to something so trivial? How could she dismiss the pain she had caused with those 3 words? I clenched my fists at my sides, struggling to keep my emotions in check. "It's never just a kiss," I said, my voice low but filled with conviction. "You broke my trust. And without trust, what's left? How am I supposed to spend the rest of my life wondering if you are hiding something else from me? Wondering if it was only that one kiss, or if there's more you are not telling me?" She opened her mouth to respond, but I raised a hand to stop her. "No," I said firmly. "I've made up my mind. I want a divorce. I can't do this anymore." Her eyes filled with tears, the reality of my words sinking in. She took a step closer, reaching out as if to touch me, but I took a step back, creating a physical barrier between us. "Divorce is extreme," she whispered, her voice breaking. "We can fix this. We can work through it. I love you." I shook my head, the ache in my chest growing unbearable. "Love isn't always enough," I said, my voice softening slightly. "You stepped out of our marriage. You made a choice that changed everything. And I can't live my life wondering if you will make that choice again." She began to cry, her tears falling silently down her cheeks. For a moment, I felt a pang of guilt, a desire to comfort her. But I pushed it aside. I couldn't allow myself to be swayed by emotion. This was the right decision, no matter how painful it was for both of us. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice filled with finality. "But it's over." Her sobs grew louder, and she buried her face in her hands. I stood there, watching the woman I had once loved more than anything fall apart in front of me. It was heartbreaking, but it was necessary. There was no going back. There was no fixing what had been broken. And with that, I turned and walked away, leaving behind the echoes of our shared past and stepping into an uncertain future. I stood there, watching her crumble under the weight of my words, her hands trembling as she wiped away tears that seemed to fall endlessly. There was a time when I would have done anything to ease her pain, to comfort her in moments like this, but that instinct had been eroded, worn away by betrayal and mistrust. I felt hollow inside. Numb. The kind of numbness that comes when every emotion has been spent, leaving nothing but a dull ache behind. "That's easy for you to say," I repeated, my voice steady but cold, like ice spreading across a surface. "Because you cheated, and I didn't. You broke the rules we built our life around. You shattered the trust that held us together. And now you want to talk about reconciliation, about love." I shook my head, the bitterness rising in my chest like bile. "It doesn't work like that. I just want a clean divorce." She looked at me with wide, pleading eyes, her lips trembling as she searched for the right words, anything that might sway me. "Why?" she whispered, her voice cracking under the strain. "Why are you so sure that we can't fix this? Why aren't you open to reconciliation? We've been through so much together. We have 6 years of memories, of love, of a life we built. You're really going to throw that all away over one mistake?" "One mistake?" I echoed, my voice rising slightly, incredulous. "You call what you did one mistake? How am I supposed to believe that? How am I supposed to know it was just a kiss?" How am I supposed to be sure that nothing else happened and that it won't happen again? You expect me to live with that doubt hanging over me for the rest of my life? My chest tightened as I spoke, the words spilling out faster, the dam of restraint breaking. I don't want to spend my life wondering where you are when I'm not around. Wondering who you're with, what you're doing, what you're hiding. Trust is everything in a marriage, and you destroyed it. And once trust is gone, what's left? She sobbed quietly, her hands twisting nervously as if she were wringing out an invisible cloth. Her shoulders shook with the weight of her emotions, and for a fleeting moment, I felt a pang of sympathy. But I couldn't let myself be swayed by her tears. I had to stay firm. I love you, she said softly, the words barely audible through her tears. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But I love you. I don't want to lose you. I love you too, I admitted, my voice softening slightly, though the resolve in my heart remained unyielding. But love isn't always enough. It takes more than love to make a marriage work. It takes trust, respect, honesty. And you stepped out of our marriage. You broke all of that. I shook my head slowly, exhaling deeply. I don't want to fight with you. I don't want to drag this out. Let's just end it amicably. You keep what's yours, and I'll keep what's mine. She shook her head vehemently, desperation creeping into her voice. No. No, it's not that simple. Divorce is extreme. It's permanent. You don't have to do this. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can work through it. People make mistakes. Marriages go through rough patches. But you don't throw everything away over one mistake. I closed my eyes for a moment, taking a steadying breath. Her words washed over me, stirring memories of the life we had built together, the laughter, the shared dreams, the moments of pure joy that once made me believe we were unbreakable. But those memories were now tainted, overshadowed by the bitter truth of her betrayal. You don't get it, I said quietly, opening my eyes to meet her gaze. It's not just about the kiss. It's about what it represents. It's about the fact that you were capable of doing it in the first place. That you made a conscious choice to betray me. And if you did it once, how can I ever be sure you won't do it again? Her sobs grew louder, and she reached out to grab my hand, clutching it tightly as if she could anchor me to her world, keep me from slipping away. Please, she whispered, her voice raw with emotion. Please don't do this. Don't give up on us. I gently pulled my hand away, the gesture feeling like the final severing of a bond that had already been fraying for far too long. I'm sorry, I said, my voice firm but not unkind. I really am. But I'm done. I've made up my mind. Her tears streamed down her face, but she didn't try to stop me this time. She just stood there, broken and defeated, as I took a step back, putting more distance between us. The ache in my chest grew, but I knew it was the right decision. I couldn't live with the constant doubt, the lingering question marks that would haunt every moment of our marriage. I couldn't be one of those men who forgave their wives, only to discover later that the betrayal ran deeper than they ever imagined. She wiped her tears away with trembling hands, her expression hardening slightly. If you want a divorce, fine, she said, her voice shaking but defiant. But I won't make it easy for you. I'll delay it as much as I can. I'll fight it. Her words stung, but they didn't surprise me. This was the woman I had married, a woman who could be stubborn and relentless when she wanted something. But this time, her stubbornness wouldn't change the outcome. I understand, I said quietly. But it won't change my decision. No matter how long it takes, no matter how difficult it is, I'm going through with it. She stared at me for a long moment, searching my face for any sign of hesitation or doubt. But there was none. I was resolute. I had made my choice, and I wouldn't back down. I love you, she whispered one last time, her voice breaking as the words hung in the air between us. I love you too, I replied, my voice barely more than a whisper. But sometimes, love isn't enough. And with that, I turned and walked away, leaving her standing in the park, surrounded by the ghosts of what once was and what could never be again. I took a deep breath, bracing myself as I delivered the final blow that would end any lingering doubt about the path I had chosen. I have evidence of your infidelity, I said, my voice steady despite the storm of emotions raging inside me. I know what you did. And I know you didn't stop there. You went behind my back, trying to turn our families against me, making me out to be the villain in this mess. Her face paled, the weight of my words hitting her like a tidal wave. She opened her mouth to protest, but I held up my hand to silence her. Don't deny it. I know you did. I tried to keep it between us, tried to handle this privately. But you went too far. When your family started harassing me, calling me, blaming me for the breakdown of our marriage, I told them the truth. I didn't want to. I wanted to keep this between us, to handle it quietly, without dragging everyone else into it. But you forced my hand. Tears welled up in her eyes again, threatening to spill over. I never meant for it to go this far, she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I thought if I could make them understand my side, they'd convince you to give me another chance. I shook my head slowly, the ache in my chest deepening. That's the problem. You didn't think about me. You didn't think about the damage you were doing, the pain you were causing. You only thought about yourself, about saving face, about trying to control the narrative. And even then, I still kept your secret from your coworkers. I didn't want to make things harder for you at work. I could have told everyone. But I didn't. Her shoulders sagged, defeated, and she wiped her tears away with shaky hands. I know, she murmured, her voice barely audible. I know you've been kinder to me than I deserve. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting her words sink in. Sorry. The word felt hollow, meaningless at this point. It couldn't undo the damage that had been done. It couldn't rebuild the trust that had been shattered. It couldn't erase the images in my mind, the thought of her with someone else, of her making choices that betrayed everything we had built together. Let's just divorce, I said quietly, opening my eyes to meet her gaze once more. Let's end this before it gets any uglier. There's no point in dragging it out. She started crying again, soft sobs shaking her frame as she stood there, looking like a shadow of the woman I once loved. For a fleeting moment, I felt the urge to comfort her, to reach out and hold her, to tell her that everything would be okay. But I couldn't. That part of me, the part that wanted to protect her, to shield her from pain, was gone. It had been destroyed by her actions, by the betrayal that had torn us apart. I don't know anything about the legal process, I admitted, my voice softening slightly. I don't know how this is going to work. But I'll figure it out. I'll do whatever it takes to make this as clean and straightforward as possible. I don't want to fight over assets, over who gets what. You keep what's yours, and I'll keep what's mine. We don't need to drag this out in court. She nodded slowly, wiping her tears away again. I don't want to fight either, she whispered. I don't want to lose you. It's already over, I said, my voice steady. There's nothing left to save. We love each other, but love isn't enough. Not when trust is gone. Not when the foundation of our marriage has been destroyed. She took a step closer, her eyes pleading with me one last time. Can we at least try? Can we go to counseling? Can we see if there's anything left to salvage? I shook my head, the resolve in my heart unwavering. No, I said firmly. I've made up my mind. I can't forgive you for kissing someone else. I can't spend the rest of my life wondering if it was just a kiss, or if there was more you are not telling me. And even if it was just a kiss, it doesn't matter. You stepped out of our marriage. You made a choice that broke us. There's no fixing this. Her sobs grew louder, and she covered her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking as she cried. I stood there for a moment, watching her fall apart, feeling the weight of the finality of our conversation settle over me like a heavy cloak. It was heartbreaking to see the woman I had once loved more than anything reduced to this, but it was necessary. There was no going back. No second chances. No room for reconciliation. Finally, I took a step forward and placed a hand on her shoulder. She flinched slightly at the contact, but then she leaned into it, seeking comfort in the only way she knew how. I let her cry for a moment, standing there in silence, both of us mourning the death of our marriage in our own way. "I'm sorry," I said softly, my voice filled with genuine regret. "I wish things were different. I wish we could go back to the way things were before. But we can't. It's over." She nodded slowly, sniffling as she wiped her tears away. "I know," she whispered. I don't know how to let go." "You have to," I said gently. "We both do." With that, I took a step back, breaking the physical connection between us. She looked at me with tear-filled eyes, her expression a mixture of sadness, regret, and resignation. I could see that she wanted to say more, to plead her case one last time, but she knew it was futile. The decision had been made. The chapter was closing. "I'm going to start the process," I said, my voice firm. "I'll look into what needs to be done. But from now on, let's keep this civil. Let's not make it harder than it needs to be." She nodded again, her shoulders slumping in defeat. "Okay." For a moment, we stood there in silence, two broken people standing at the crossroads of what once was and what could never be again. Then, without another word, I turned and walked away, my footsteps echoing through the quiet park. I didn't look back. I couldn't. Looking back would only make it harder to move forward. As I walked, my mind raced with thoughts of what lay ahead. The legal process, the paperwork, the endless questions from friends and family. I didn't know how any of it would play out. I had no experience with divorce, no understanding of the intricacies of the legal system. All I knew was that I had made my decision, and I was going to see it through. No matter how tough or expensive it turned out to be, I was ready to face it head on. I thought about the people who had told me to forgive her, who had downplayed her betrayal, saying it was just a kiss. Their words echoed in my mind, filling me with frustration. How did they know it was just a kiss? How could anyone be sure? Even I didn't know the full truth. How could I trust that it hadn't happened before, that it wasn't more than she claimed? No. I couldn't live like that. I couldn't be one of those men who forgave their cheating wives, only to discover later that the betrayal ran deeper than they ever imagined. I couldn't be one of those men who were blindsided years down the line, raising children that weren't theirs, oblivious to the lies their marriage had been built on. I had made my choice, and I wouldn't back down. This was my life, my future. And I refused to live it in the shadow of doubt and betrayal. It was time to move on. Time to start over. Time to reclaim my life. I have been ignoring her texts, every one of them, no matter how desperate or apologetic they sound. I can see the notifications pop up on my phone, her name, her words pleading for me to listen, to come back, to give her a chance to explain herself. But I don't open them. I don't respond. I know that if I do, it will only pull me back into a cycle I'm determined to break free from. Her words won't change what happened. They won't erase the betrayal, nor will they rebuild the trust she destroyed with that one choice, that one kiss, or at least what she claims was one kiss. But how do I know? How can anyone be certain that it was just that? It's a question that keeps gnawing at me, refusing to let go. All these people telling me, it's just a kiss, as if that should make everything better. As if reducing her betrayal to a single moment of weakness should make me forgive and forget. But how do they know? How can anyone know what truly happened between her and that man? Even I don't know. And that's the hardest part, the not knowing. I'll never have the full picture. I'll never know if it really was just a kiss, or if there was more. If they met before, if they met again, if things escalated beyond what she's willing to admit. Maybe it was more than one kiss. Maybe it wasn't the first time, and maybe it wouldn't have been the last if I hadn't found out. Trust is built on certainty, on the belief that the person you've chosen to spend your life with is honest, loyal, and faithful. But once that trust is broken, once doubt creeps in, it's impossible to banish it completely. It festers like a wound that never fully heals, always there in the background, waiting to reopen at the slightest provocation. And I can't live like that. I won't live like that. I've made up my mind. No matter how tough or expensive the process is, I'm going through with it. I'm going to look for a lawyer, start the paperwork, and file for divorce. There's no turning back now. Every step I take toward that final separation feels like a step toward reclaiming my life, my peace of mind. It's painful, yes. But it's necessary. I won't let myself become one of those men who forgive their cheating wives, only to find out years later that the betrayal never truly stopped. I've seen it happen too many times. Stories of men who gave their wives second chances, only to discover down the line that the same patterns of infidelity continued. Stories of men who were blindsided by the truth, left picking up the shattered pieces of their lives when they thought everything was finally back to normal. And worse, those stories of men who, after years of raising children they believed to be their own, find out that they've been lied to all along. That the children they loved, cared for, and sacrificed everything for weren't biologically theirs. The devastation that comes with that revelation is something I can't even begin to imagine. It's a nightmare scenario, one that no man should ever have to face. I refuse to be one of those men. I refuse to let doubt and betrayal define my future. I won't wake up years from now, questioning every moment of my life, wondering what was real and what was a lie. I won't let myself be deceived, manipulated, or taken advantage of. Love isn't enough to sustain a marriage without trust. And once trust is gone, no amount of love can bring it back. I've learned that the hard way. It's a painful lesson, but it's one I won't forget. I've made my choice, and I'm standing by it. The path ahead won't be easy. I know that. There will be moments of doubt, moments of weakness when I'll be tempted to respond to her messages, to give in to the lingering feelings I still have for her. But I'll remind myself why I made this decision. I'll remind myself of the pain, the betrayal, the uncertainty that poisoned our relationship. And I'll keep moving forward. Because at the end of the day, I deserve better. I deserve peace of mind. I deserve a future untainted by suspicion and doubt. And that future starts with letting go of the past, no matter how hard it is to do. So I'm going to walk away from this marriage, from the woman I once loved more than anything. I'll leave behind the memories, the plans, the dreams we once shared. And I'll build something new for myself, something based on trust, honesty, and mutual respect. Something real. I'm not backing down. Not this time.